Hey everyone, it's Structure here. So welcome to another tutorial. So in this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to deploy your application to Kubernetes using, well, I'm going to be running locally, right? So it's basically the same way you'd be running it in production, you'll be running it locally as well. Just very slight configurations which you don't actually need to worry about. Yeah, so I'll be deploying a JavaScript app, a Python app, and Golang application. So I have the three apps here. This is the finished project actually. So this is the finished project. So what I have locally is actually this as well. So yeah, let's get started. Yeah, so I have the project opened here. I have the project opened here. So I have all the files for the Kubernetes in this side here. So what I will be doing, right, I would create a new folder for let me call this one okay, let me just leave this file as this. So here, right, I have three applications here. So let's examine these applications first. So this is an Express application, right? I'd like to put this somewhere here. Yeah, so this is an Express application. So like typically JavaScript, yeah. So I just did a very basic endpoint here, just a just the root part. So I basically returned the app um name, then the date time, the current date that is. So if I run this normally, so inside I have it inside this Express.js app, so I could just cd into Express.js, then do node main.js to run this file. So it's listening on a port 8000. So I could just check that here on my browser. I would say port 8000. Yeah, so I would have Express.js and the current time as well in this side here. Yeah, so I basically have other apps too that are like that. So let me just be done with this as well. So after setting up this simple application here in this main.js file, so I basically dockerize it from here. So I specified the node version. I would like to assume you guys are familiar with Docker itself. So yeah, I just did a very basic Docker configuration here. I selected my base image, specified the working directory, then I exposed my port 8000 because that's what my app is running on. So my app is currently running on port 8000. So maybe in production environments, right, you might want to be using an environment variable. With this, it's entirely up to you. Yeah. So, but for me, I'm just using a static port here. So I'm just specifying 8000 as my port. Then I copied all my source file to destination and I did Node.js stuff. That's just the rest of this side here. Yeah. So that's just that about the JS application. Then the next one I have is the Python application actually, which is written in FastAPI. So if you guys don't know, FastAPI is actually a lightweight and faster framework for writing backend APIs in Python, which is kind of like my favorite in recent times. I know. I think I recommend you guys to check it out. Check it out, yeah. Yeah. So fast API is really good. It's really good. Okay. Uh, Actually, I think I should record more videos on fast API. There's a lot of things to be talked about or to know about fast API. It's really interesting, likes of the dependency injections and all those stuffs like that. Yeah. So I basically did the same thing here. Yeah. Yeah. So I specified my base image, working directory, port expose, and copying source to destination. Then I basically did Python stuff here. I installed by pip version and installed it from the requirements file. Then I ran the main.py file. So if I navigate into the fast API folder here and I do I need to activate the virtual environment I have here first actually. So if I run this, I should also be running on port 8000 here. So if I refresh this, it's currently app.js. So if I refresh it, I should have fast API. Then the date time is basically the same response object here. So the only difference is just going to be the app name here. So yeah, I have FastAPI here, just as I have it in this place here. I have FastAPI, so I have it here like this. Okay, then the last application I have here is so I basically dockerized the JavaScript application and the Python application, right? So now to the Golang application. So I have a Go project here. So I'm using Fiber. It's a framework for writing REST APIs in Golang, to my understanding. So yeah, it's typically the same thing we did in the previous apps we are doing here, just in a different way, right? Yeah, so this is the name of the app. Then I just basically return the date time object string as of, yeah. So that was what I did here. Then I would want to run this just to show you guys. Okay. By the way, I'm starting to like this Go Fiber framework as well. It's really nice. You guys should also check this out. There's just a lot of things to know. Don't mind me. Okay. Yeah. Currently, this is FastAPI. So when I run it, I should have Go Fiber. So yeah. So I have Go Fiber now. Basically the same thing with what I have here. Okay. Let me try to actually put this to capital letter and see if it's. Pardon me, my Golang is not exactly what you call strong. Okay, it works. I was just trying to change this to uppercase. Okay, so everything looks fine now. Actually, so everything looks fine. Uh, let me see. So that's all. Basically, I just dockerized this as well. So I hope, I believe you guys know what this is by now already. So then I just did casual Go setup. I installed all my dependencies and I built my Go application into an executable file. Then I just ran the executable file in this side here. So that's just all on this here. Okay. Then yeah, I basically dockerized all of these three applications, right? So the next thing I would want to do, I would want to build them into Docker images, then push them to Docker Hub. So, or let me put it this way, I would push them to a public container repository, like container registry rather. So I would just show you guys what I have here actually. So basically what Docker Hub is a place for you to store your Docker images, right? So it's a place for you to store your Docker images. So I've actually pushed these applications recently. So these are the three applications I pushed. I have the Go Fiber app, FastAPI app, and Express.js app. Yeah, so I have these applications on Docker Hub, and I have them as public, right? The reason why I have them as public for now is because I don't want to go through the extra configuration of setting up or private registry authentication or whatever it is. I'm just trying to keep this very simple because Kubernetes could get actually complex in seconds. Yeah. So that's why I have on my Docker Hub, I have these three images here. Okay. So I'll show you guys how to build the images in a second. So what I currently have here is a make file. You don't actually need to bother about what this is. I'm just going to show you how to build your Docker containers. Okay, I think I just actually moved this here. Okay, okay. So the first app I would want to build is the Express app. So I've actually built this before, so running the command again would just be faster actually. So if I'm to do that, I would, well, the straightforward command would be to navigate inside the Express app like this. So if you notice, I'm currently inside the Express app in this place here. So I have Express app here. Then the next thing, let me try to zoom this. Okay. Okay. So the next thing I would want to do is run the docker build command. So I would say docker build. Then the next thing Docker would be expecting here is for me to specify the context. That's, I need to specify the current directory I want to build the application in. So I would specify the current directory, then space, then I will add my tag name. So if I'm pushing to Docker Hub, I need to put my username, which is structure, then the image container, like the name of the container, right? The image rather, the name of the image I want to push. That's the image you can choose any name you want, but this I'll just keep it generic to the name of the project or the application itself. So I would say Express.js app in this case. Yeah. So once I press enter, all things equal, it should build the application for me. So it's basically doing Docker stuffs here. You don't need to worry about this. Mine is actually faster because I've actually built this image before. So it's using the cache. If you notice here, I said cached. Yeah. So it's just using the previous setup since nothing changed in the application, right? So now that I've done this, the next thing I would want to do is to do docker push, then the name of my image, structure slash express JS app, like this. So the reason why I'm able to push like this is because I'm authenticated. So if you're not authenticated, right, you might want to run this docker login command first. Then it will ask you for your username and your password and all. But like in my own case, I'm still authenticated and my session is active, so I don't need to re-authenticate again. But if you're not logged in, it will ask you for your username and your password, so you just put that in. Yeah. So for now, just to keep it simple, I'm using username and password, although you could use auth token, right, which is actually recommended. But just to keep it simple for demo purposes now, right, just use your username and your password. So the next thing you would want to do is to push the image to the registry. So you do docker push structure. I actually want to clear this up. Docker push structure slash express.js app, like this. So it's pushing it. I'm not versioning it, so I'm just leaving the tag as latest. So it's pushing it already. I think because it pushed it already, it's kind of faster in a way. So if I check my container registry, it was last updated 2 hours ago, but now it should be updated by now actually. So I'm refreshing the page now. So once it's refreshed, you should have Express.js. Yeah, set a few seconds ago. So it shows that my image has been updated. I've pushed my image. So I'm going to basically do the same thing for my FastAPI application. So I'm going to navigate into the FastAPI folder. Then I would do the same command with the build. Then specify my context. Then the tag name. Then do structure slash FastAPI app, like this would be fast as well because I've run this command previously, so this should be fast. Yeah. So then I'm going to just push the image to docker hub, then FastAPI app, like this. So this would actually be fast as well because, like I said, I've pushed it previously, so they already exist on Docker. So if I check docker hub again and I refresh, FastAPI app should also be last updated about a few seconds ago or so. Yeah, so this is FastAPI here. Then the next image I would want to build, or the last image actually, would be for Golang fiber. Okay, so yeah, but since I think, let's just try this might not use the cache because a file has changed in the folder. So let's just run the command. We don't need to bother about docker stuffs anyways. So I specify my context, then the tag structure slash go fiber app, like this. Okay, yeah, it's not using the cached layer in this place because the main.go app, I think, changed already because we made a single modification in this line here. I made a modification to this PM thing here, so yeah. So that didn't change. That didn't use the catch actually. Okay. So while we wait for that to run, right, I will just go through Kubernetes itself, right? Like I'm sure everyone has been hearing about Kubernetes here and there. So I would also like I think it would be ideal to properly explain how Kubernetes works or what is Kubernetes in a very basic way I can. Yeah. So for those who are like they're not familiar to Kubernetes, right? So Kubernetes is basically a container orchestration product, right? So Kubernetes helps you to orchestrate Docker container. What that simply means is I'm looking for a proper image. I think there's this common image of Kubernetes I see. Okay, it's logo. There's this popular image of Kubernetes that I do see. They put yes, this typical in my own opinion, right? This is supposed to be the logo for Kubernetes. Like this logo here is supposed to be the logo for Kubernetes because these are containers. Then this whale is the one managing like these containers. So that's typically what Kubernetes does. So Kubernetes is a container orchestration tool. So it helps you to manage multiple Docker containers. That's what Kubernetes is. Okay. This is actually a good tutorial as well, but I think it's having some complications which I'm not ready to dive in. So yeah, so basically Kubernetes helps you to manage multiple Docker containers or any kind of containers actually, because there are other containers that are aside Docker containers. Yeah, so it's open source and it helps you with automatic deployment, scaling, and the key feature here I think is managing con of containerized applications, right? I would actually love to go deeper into what's brought about Kubernetes, right? But I think it would be best if you just maybe come to their website and read about it because there is a lot of stories on Kubernetes which you would actually love. So there is actually a YouTube documentary on Kubernetes actually. So you might actually want to check that out as well, which I really enjoy reading. Yeah, I think it's honeypot. So the whole story started from I think Google when they needed it's just a very fancy story you would like actually. So you guys should actually check out. Maybe I'll try to leave the link in the description. Story of how Kubernetes came about and all that. Yeah. So yeah, I think this image is done. So we'll just basically have to push it to the registry. So I have Go Fiber. So this should actually push fast as well because most of the layers exist already. Okay, it's pushing new layers, I guess. Okay, yeah, if you notice these layers already exist, so it's pushing them already. I think this is just basic Docker stuff. You don't need to bother about this actually. So once this is done, I can we can actually get into the whole Kubernetes thing we want to do, right? Yeah. So first of all, right, let me explain what I'm trying to do. So assuming these are my microservices, right? Typical use case for Kubernetes is deploying microservices. That's typical use case for it. So let's say this is one of my microservices written in Express, another one written in FastAPI, another one written in Go Fiber, right? And I want to deploy all of them into a Kubernetes cluster for a couple of reasons, which I would not like to go into, but I would just say I want to deploy them into my Kubernetes cluster. So I want it such that one endpoint is what I will be using to access um, all of these applications at the same time, like just one endpoint to access them, right? So what I would do here is I would create a new folder actually. So I'll create a new folder here. I would call it let me say uh, let me call it K8 LT, maybe latest, something like that. Let me just leave it like this. So K8 LT, and the Go Fiber application as well has finished pushing to Docker Hub. So if we check Docker Hub here, so we should have all of them up to date. So I would have Kubernetes documentation open here. I would not want to go through the setup of installing Kubernetes and all of that actually, but I would let me just talk about, if you are running it locally, right, you would want to install Minikube. Like that's what is working for me actually, Sha. So I'm currently running Minikube locally. So instead of me testing Kubernetes on AWS or whatever cloud platform just for test purpose, right, I would prefer using it locally. So if you are using Mac or Linux, I'll just leave this link in the description as well, so you could use it to install. So if you're on Mac, you could just select Mac. If you're on Linux, select Linux. At the end of the day, you should have Minikube installed. So yeah, so you might want to go for a more straightforward version using Homebrew, which I'm not sure I've actually pronounced before. Homebrew. Anyways, so if you run this command, it should install the Kubernetes CLI for you. Then also, if you run brew install minikube, it should also install it for you. The command should be somewhere, I don't know, but I will just leave it in the description of how you can install minikube and kubectl. So yeah, that is it. Then to okay, yeah, if you look at all our apps, they seem to be up to date, so I could just close this up. Then the next thing I would want to do is I want to navigate into my K8 latest folder. Let me just let me leave it like this, K8 LT. So yeah, so the first thing I want to do, right, you can decide to structure your application or your Kubernetes configurations. They typically call it manifest. So you can uh store your how do you call it? You can structure your Kubernetes folder in any manner you wish. But for me personally, right, keep um I like to keep it in this sort of manner. Let me show you guys. So if I wanted to create a configuration for Express.js app, so I will just create a folder express.js slash say I want to create a deployment, right? I would explain that in a minute. So I'll just say express.js dot deployment dot yaml. Yeah, so that's the extension for Kubernetes file. So the extension is .yaml. It's a YAML file. So this manner is why how I like to declare my own files actually, like my Kubernetes manifest structure. Okay, so what is a Kubernetes deployment? So it's typically like when you're writing your Docker Compose configuration, right? But in this case, it's a little bit more let me say bulky, not complicated, bulky. Let me put it that way. So I think the first thing you always need to specify here, let's check the documentation actually, which I would actually like Kubernetes IO. Don't mind me, I'm lazy. Okay, docs. Okay, so I believe the best way to learn Kubernetes is from the documentation actually. So for example, I want to create a deployment, right? I would just come to this place and search for deployment, right? So the first search you bring, like, is usually just easy to find everything you need from here. Very, very easy. So they basically explain it for you, like they explain everything for you. You can come back to read all of this actually, but I will just go straight to what actually matters. Yeah, so this is the configuration they have here. So I'll just basically copy this and edit it to our own taste, because I don't want to rewrite the applications actually. So I'll just go and explain it line by line for you guys. Okay. So this first line is just specifying the Kubernetes API version. Then this kind here is stating the kind of configuration we are trying to write. So in this case, we are typically trying to write a deployment file. Yeah, so we are trying to write a deployment manifest or whatever they call it. So I would want to name it Express.js, like instead of something else. I'll just say Express.js deployment like this. Then the label I would want to use here as well, I would want to use then the label here actually. Yeah, I don't think I need a label here. So typically in Kubernetes, right, the way labels work is but you would, it's more like I created two configurations, right? They are supposed to work hand in hand together. So, but the files are different. So how do they know that we are supposed to work like together? Like the way they understand that we are linked together is through their labels, actually. Yeah. So it's through their labels. That's like the common way you can, I believe that's the only way I know that you can um like link up your resources, like your configuration files together to identify one another, like we are supposed to work together and all that. Yeah, so that's typically how what the labels work for. So for now, right, I'll just actually label this Express.js. So I'll label this Express.js. So what this replicas mean is like once you see this deployment as an instance of your application, right? So what the deployment is just like is creating your application inside the Kubernetes clusters, inside the Kubernetes cluster, right? So how many instances of your application do you want to create? This is the replica. It's the number of desired pods exactly. So you have your application instance, then your instance generates a pod. Depending on the number of replicas you specify, it's going to generate the number of pods for you. So they specify 3 pod replicas in this case. So we are going to start with 1 replica in this case here. So I'm just going to put this to 1. Then this is just the app label thing. So look at this label selector for pods exists directly, blah blah blah. They are selected by plot, they must match the templates label and blah blah blah. Yeah, so this selector here and this templates, they should actually match one another. These two things should actually match one another. This here on the other hand, I don't think this one is something I think is necessary, so I'll just strip it out. Yeah, so these two labels, they should match each other. The selector and the templates, they should match this. The app name here, they should match one another here. So you can check Kubernetes documentation for more details on this. You can actually change the name of this app here. You can change the name of the label, but commonly this is what people use, so we just leave it as this. Then the next thing we want to define is our deployment specifications, right? So inside our specification, we can declare containers. So in our case, we'll just be declaring just one container, right? Just one container actually. So that's what we'll be declaring. And that's our Express.js app. Okay. Then in the image name, we would say structure slash Express.js app, actually app instead. Okay, then the port I'm running it on inside the container is what I'll specify here. So I'm running it on port 8000. Then also, if you notice, it's showing this red line here, like there's something missing also. It said one or more containers do not have resource limits. This could stop other processes, blah blah blah. So basically, it's just the extension I'm using for Kubernetes that is doing this. If you're not using an extension, it's not going to bring this up. But to make this stop shouting, right, we could actually come somewhere here to copy something which it needs. That would be the resources. Hopefully there's something there. There's something here like that. I believe there should be. Should be something like that. Yeah. This is weird. Uh, replica says it's there. Imagine I could actually have checked the here. Yeah, so this is typically what I'm trying not to rewrite. Yeah, so this is what I'm trying not to rewrite anyways. It's good to be lazy once in a while. Okay, so once I put this here, it should stop making noise. So I'm just specifying the resources here, the limits actually of the resources, CPU of 500 and memory of 128 or whatever. So you can check more on these calculations actually, or you can read more about these configurations from Kubernetes documentation. Yeah, so I have my deployment here. My deployment is active. So now my configuration is active. Like it's not active yet, right? But I have everything needed for my standard deployment. This is a complete deployment. So I need to expose my deployment to the Kubernetes cluster, right? There are multiple ways you can do that. Like but there are, let me say, the way you do something like that is by the common way you do something like this, exposing your deployment inside your cluster internally, is using a service, right? So we are going to create a new file. We'll call it expressjs.service.yaml. Yeah, so we have a service file now. So just to make sure we understand what we are doing all again, then we would check Kubernetes documentation again and search for service. So what is a Kubernetes service? Well, there's this thing I hear a lot, which I actually do think is appropriate, right? People commonly say everything basically in Kubernetes is a service, which I actually like to believe because you get to understand that at some point, actually. So yeah. So basically, if you let me see if you can read more on this. I'm just here to copy configurations actually, yeah. So this is a very basic example of a service. A service is an object. Let me see. The same way you create a pod, or you can, okay, and create a pod using the Kubernetes actual API. Okay, look at this now. For example, suppose you have a set of pods that each listen on TCP ports 9376 and are labeled as app.kubernetes.io/name equals to my app. You see that this label here is what they are using to reference the previous deployments or whatever, like the previous pod, because a deployment is going to create pod. So the deployment we created before, in this case here, so let's say it creates one pod. So we want to create a service for that pod. We are going to reference this app label. So this service would know that, okay, we are trying to reference this configuration to that deployment we created. So it will reflect the changes on the pod. Yeah. So in this case, our own app is listening on port 8000. So let me just copy this first. We'll talk about this in a bit. Yeah. Okay. So I would paste this here. I'll paste this here. Then the next thing I would have is this name of my service actually. So I would say express.js service, like this, just to keep things simple. And in our own case, our app label is different. Our app label is express.js, like this. So I will just basically come here and paste this here. Yeah. Okay, so that's what I have in this file. Okay, and in our own case, our app is listening on 8000 instead. Our app is listening on 8000. I don't think we need to specify protocol here. It's optional actually, and it's kind of default to TCP anyways. So yeah, we specified our API version again in this case, and also we did the configuration type of service. Then this is just metadata declaring the name of this configuration, then also selector to say, okay, we are trying to reflect changes in this app. So that's typically what we have right now. Yeah. Okay, so typically we are going to be doing this, just this exact same configuration. We are going to copy it in two more places actually. So we just did for Express. We'll be doing the same thing for FastAPI and GoFiber as well. Okay. So by this time, actually, I expect we all have Minikube installed actually. So while we are still writing this configuration right now, let's just write it while I explain, because this is something you'd want to go back to and try over and over by yourself again. Trust me, you don't expect to make this work just once. It's been very long I did Kubernetes, and I've been trying to set up this since yesterday. It was just today I actually finished the whole configuration and it was working the way I expected it to work. Just since it's just been very long I did Kubernetes. So yeah, don't expect it to work once actually. If it works once, then there's something wrong somewhere. Yeah. So now let's write the fast API configuration. So I would write fast API dot deployments dot YAML. Okay, so I would copy this since I was the one that wrote it, then paste it here, change the names. This is nice. Okay, yeah, so it's typically the same thing. It's the same thing because I'm deploying an application that is running on port 8000. That's the sweet part about Docker and containerization. They don't care about anything, they just care about the core thing that matters here is just networking, honestly. Like that's the only thing that matters to them. Really, I think that's how I understand it. Let me put it that way. I believe so. You just need to specify the ports the app is running on, which is 8000. Specify the resources and the replicas. Those are like the key things in this case. So the next thing I would want to do is create the service. So fast API service YAML. Again, we are going to copy something. Where's this file? Okay, here you are. Nope. Okay, fast API service, then Express.js. I would call this fast API as well. Done. Now we are done with fast API. Next thing we would want to do is go fiber slash go fiber deployment dot YAML. Then we would want to copy our deployment file because we were the one that wrote it, so it's no biggie. Paste it in here. I change the name, then I call it go fiber. Yeah, this should do. Then the next thing is the service file. So we need to create a service for our go fiber app. So go fiber dot service dot YAML. Okay, then I just change the name here as well, go fiber. Then we should be done with our configurations. Yeah. Okay, so now we have our services here. So let's apply our files like to the Kubernetes cluster. So the first thing you want to check is that your Minikube is running. So for mine, I think it's running. If yours is not running after installing, just do Minikube starts. It should start it for you. It might take a while to start the Kubernetes cluster for you, but eventually it would. I think with downloading some files, you might just want to leave it and probably maybe take a nap or something, depending on how fast your network and your laptop is. So yeah, I think for me, I would try to cancel this. I'll just cancel this. So I should check my Kubernetes cluster is still running. So I should check Minikube status, set type, control plane, hosts running, kubelets running, API server. API server is stopped. Okay. I think I should probably just start mine. Probably I will cut the video at some point and continue at some point. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the cluster has been started now. So you could just decide to read through these stories or just clear it up like I would. Then once I try Minikube status, everything should be running, right? Yeah, so everything is running now. So just to confirm again, another way to check if your cluster is active is to do kubectl, then do get all, Yeah, so you should have something like this. So if your cluster is running, you should have something like this initially, right? You should have something like this. So the first thing we would want to do is apply all of these files here. So I you can either apply this file one by one or apply them folder by folder. Well, if you guys know a trick to apply everything in a file recursively, I'm open to it, but I would just do it the way I know how to do it. So to apply a file, it doesn't matter the order you apply the file. Actually, you can apply them any, like, in any order you want to apply them. So basically we just apply the express file first, the in the order we created them actually. So I will do kubectl apply, then I'll do -f to specify the file or folder. I think in this case I don't really know what the flag stands for exactly, and I'm not going to bother to check, by the way. Yeah, so express in this case, let's specify by file in this case first. So express deployments. So oh, there appear we have an error in one of our files. The deployment as container name express app. Okay, yeah. This place here, it should be an hyphen, not an underscore. Like, it doesn't let you use that. So change it here as well. It doesn't let you use in names, and I think some other variables it doesn't let you use. I think that's just I don't even know if it's YAML configuration or Kubernetes stuff. I'm not sure. So probably if you guys know, let me know in the comment section below. But I think it's Kubernetes stuff, yeah. So yeah, I've corrected that. So next thing, we want to apply the file again. Hopefully we don't have any errors. Yeah, so you would have something like this: deployment.apps express.js deployment created. We've created the deployment, right? So to view the deployments that we have created, we can do kubectl get deployments. Yeah, so we would see that our express.js deployment is here. It is ready. Since we said one replica, it's created one. It said one out of one replica is created. Then it said up to date, blah blah. I think this is the availability. These are Boolean values, I'm guessing. So this is just showing age, like how long the deployment has been active. If you check it again, it's probably increased. So yeah, that's for 3 seconds and all. So the next thing we want to apply again is our service, right? So our Kubernetes express service. So we'll do kubectl apply -f express, then express.js service. Boom, we have our service created. So we could do svc to view the same way we view the deployments. So to view services, you can either say service or svc. So this is shorter, I think. Yeah, so we have our express service here. We have it here. Okay. Okay, if you notice now, right, it said type of cluster IP, and what this means is this service we created, we have exposed it internally only. So if you notice in this place, external IP says none. That means it's not available externally. It is only available inside our Kubernetes cluster. So the IP address of the Express.js service inside the cluster is specified here. So you have to be inside the cluster for you to access this service. Okay, so the next thing I would want to do is implement this. Instead of me putting typing the folder name like typing the files one by one and all, I'll just apply the entire folder at the same time. So let's try that with the FastAPI. So I have this, instead of specifying the files one by one, so I can do this actually. Set deployment created, service created. So if I check kubectl again, then say get deployments, I should have the FastAPI deployment. Then if I say get svc as well, I should have the FastAPI on the cluster with a different IP address and external IP of none. All right, yeah, so that's what we have. So if you want to also check your pods, like the replicas your Kubernetes deployments created, you can actually do get pods as well. So if you notice now, it said they has created one of one. because we said you should create only one pod, one replica. So it's creating one of one for the Express app, then creating another one for the FastAPI application. And also the status is running, then this is also running actually. Okay. Then for our last app we want to apply is our Go Fiber application. So we have this as well. So if we check our kubectl deployments, we would see we have, so currently this is still running. So if we check the pods, you see the status is saying container creating, right? But the deployment should have been created almost immediately. Okay, the deployment as well, you see it's still running, but if we check the deployment again, probably it's done by now. Yeah, it's done already. So the pods should be available by now actually. So the pod is available, then the service, I think that one would be available even before anything. So the service is available here inside the cluster with a different IP address and external IP of none. So this cluster IP is more like an internal IP address that is associated to the service within the cluster. All right. So it's not available. These services are not available anywhere, only inside the Kubernetes cluster. So that's one of the security reasons people like about Kubernetes actually, because you cannot exactly know which app to attack, or even if you just cannot exactly how do I put it? It just makes all your applications internally, like it makes them secure, like networking wise on a basic level. Let me put it that way. Like it hides all your applications behind a very very good layer. So this is one very good power of it. This all of this, they are not externally available. So what we are going to do now, we want to make our application externally available, right? So that's what we're working on now. Then to make our application available, there are multiple ways we can do that. We can actually use a service, or in this case you can use any of this. We can either use a node port or a load balancer, to my knowledge. Like these are things I can use. Let me say I know how to use rather. I'm not sure about these external names actually. I don't exactly use them. I only use node ports and load balancer. But in our case, I want something more, because we want to access our application through just one through one endpoint, like through one URL. She understands. Okay. So that's what I'm trying to do. So what we will be needing in our case is an ingress. Yeah. So that's what we need in our case. So basically, an ingress, like the name implies, ingress, like uh incoming traffic. I think you could just come here and read about ingress. So basically we need an ingress. An ingress will be externally exposed to will be exposed externally, like as an external IP. Then we would now let the ingress receive traffic from outside. Then we would now route the traffic to any of our services. You see it here. The client sends a request to the load ingress managed load balancer. So ingress itself would have its tricks with load balancing and all that. I don't want to discuss that. So clients would send a message to a request to ingress. Then ingress does the routing depending on how you specified your ingress rules. So the ingress would redirect to the appropriate service depending on your routing rule. Then the service would talk to the pods which that the deployment created. So in this case, they are using two replicas, but in our case, it's just be one because we are using just one replica. Okay. Yeah. So prerequisites here and blah blah blah. I think in this case, right, if you want to use ingress, ingress is available as an add-on in Minikube. So you might want to run this command if I'm not sure, maybe by default it's available for you, but if just run this command regardless. So Minikube add-on enable ingress. So I think mine is enabled. Yeah, mine is enabled already. So it might take a while actually for this to be enabled, but mine is enabled already. Yeah. Okay. So let's go here. Okay. Then this is a minimal ingress configuration, like they said in this case, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do again, like we've been doing actually, so we're going to copy what they have here and edit it to our own satisfaction as usual. Okay. Okay, now we create a file for our ingress.yaml. Then we are going to remove things we don't need actually. So I'll call this K8 LT ingress. Like the name of the folder is what I mean. So yeah, I think this one here would actually leave this. I don't need the class name. I just need the rows, path, prefix, and blah blah. Okay, this is the part where things get interesting. We have three services, right? We are trying to provide access to three services. So we want to receive requests to our Express app, to our FastAPI app, and our GoFiber application. So how do we route that traffic? The best way we can route that traffic is to do something like this. So let's say this is our URL. Let's say we've hosted our application now. Let's say we hosted it on localhost 80. So we want to access our Express app now. We can typically do something like this: Express. Then it will redirect to the Express application, Express service or whatever. Then we would have the FastAPI as well, the same thing. Then we will now have Go Fiber, Go Fiber like this. Okay, so this is the configuration we're trying to implement in our Kubernetes cluster. So the way we can go about it, actually, I believe you guys are familiar with the configuration up to this side here. Okay, so these annotations here is more of these annotations. They are arguments that are available when you are using this networking.k8.this here. So this API version here is just like a package in Kubernetes. I think they used to call it charts. I think mcharts. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not an expert in Kubernetes, I won't lie. So I believe this is sort of like a package. Then this annotations here is what is available inside this networking.k8 package. So this is not something that is available like on a standard in Kubernetes, or I think this either ways. This is just something that comes with this networking package. Yeah. So what we need to specify in our specifications, we need to specify a set of rules, right? So HTTP rules. So what we need to do here, yeah. So we need to specify paths inside our HTTP. So we specify the paths here like this. Okay. So the first part we want to specify is our express paths. Okay, so we write express here. So how do you want it to work, right? We want it to be like when you go to /express, it will direct you to the express service. That's what we want, right? Okay, so that's what we are going to do in this place. That's the meaning of the prefix. We want anything that starts with express /express. We want it to be redirected to our service. So now let me check the name of the express service again. So the name of our service is just Express.js, actually. Like that name of our service. It's not this name you would actually use. It's the name you have in your deployment you would use. This one here that you have in your deploy, I believe, I think. Let's just try it first. Hopefully it works. But I think that's the name you would use in this place here. Okay. Then it's running on container port of 8000, right? Okay. Then I think I will just basically copy this as usual in 3 places. So the next one is FastAPI. Then I would copy FastAPI here. Then the next one would be Go Fiber. let me confirm this actually. Fast API. Okay, go fiber. So yeah, we have the names correct. Okay, I'll clear this. So now we have our ingress specified here. With what I'm seeing here, everything looks good. With what I'm seeing here, everything looks good. Okay, so now let's try to apply our ingress configuration. So the same way we've been applying files since. So we do kubectl apply -f ingress.yaml. Yeah, so it's created that as well. If we want to check this, we could do kubectl get ingress. Yeah, so we should see, okay, this is the ingress I created before. This is one I created before, so I'm just going to delete this. So I'll do kubectl delete ingress. I actually thought I deleted all the resources I had before. Okay, so we'll see this. The only ingress we have available is the new one we just created. I think the address allocation takes a while. Yeah, the address allocation takes a while for it to be associated, but eventually you will get the address. So this is the address you are supposed to be using. So if you go to your, if you're on Windows, if you're on Linux, let me specify. If you're on Linux, right, this would work straight for you. If you access this on your browser straight up like this, /express, you should have access to your Express.js application. But if you're on MacOS or Windows, you have to run one extra command actually. So let me put this. Yeah, so the command you need to run if you're on Windows or Mac is Minikube tunnel. So what this is it exposes the ingress service. It exposes it to your local host. So from inside the Kubernetes cluster, it brings it to your local host. This address is supposed to work out of the box on a standard, right? But I think due to some things internally in Kubernetes and ingress, I think they were mentioning a feature that has not been implemented or whatever. So for some reasons, yeah, it would not work directly for you if you're on Mac. So you would have to actually tunnel the ingress out of the cluster in this way. So yeah, so in on Mac and Linux, it's on Mac it will ask for your password. I don't know why it will ask your Windows anyways. Yeah, so the tunneling is available here like this. So it said starting tunnel for service K8 ingress. Yeah, so this the ingress has started already. So if I go to local hosts, then Express, okay, I'm getting 500 service temporarily unavailable. So if you are having something like this, actually it took me a while to debug this. So if you're having something like this, the quick way you can detect what is going on is by saying kubectl describe ingress, then specify the name of your ingress. In my case, ingress lt ingress, like this. Exactly, this was exactly what was happening to me. So it could not detect the endpoints, Express.js, FastAPI, and all that. Let me check the previous configuration I have here, not to waste time actually. Okay, -app. Where did that come from? Express.js app. Okay, yeah, it came from this side actually. I believe it's the name of the container. Let me confirm that. We are all learning that, so yeah, we are all learning. So I believe it's the name of the container. Let me try it again. Let me try with this Go Fiber first. So if this works, then I probably have learned something again. So Go Fiber. I just applied the folder. It would, no, sorry, it's supposed to apply the ingress actually. Yeah, so let me run the description command again. Okay, the endpoint is not still found. Let me see. Let me change the app label here, but I don't think. Let me try something a bit. I don't think the name here has to match. Let me just try this. I applied the Go Fiber and Ingress as well. So let me describe this again. Still not found. Okay. That's odd. Go Fiber. I don't want to assume that the name has to be. Let me try this first. Let me try this. Go Fiber app. Then in the deployments selector as well, let me try Go Fiber app. Then in the ingress, let me try Imagine. So I've been I'm a clown. Okay, let's apply the ingress again. Okay, I guess I didn't exactly do anything wrong, or in my own opinion. Let me say it will not shock me if this thing doesn't still work. It's Kubernetes. Okay, I need to apply the Go Fiber manifest again. Actually, kubectl apply -f Go Fiber. Said invalid spec.selector. Field is immutable. Go Fiber deployment. Spec.selector. Spec. I'm not really getting it. Version 1 label. Created the service. The deployment Go Fiber is invalid. So excellent. Okay. Let's see Go Fiber deployments here. Let me check the deployments I have here. Go Fiber deployments, Go Fiber app. Frankly, I don't see any difference. I don't see any difference. Let me check the service. Go Fiber. Wow. Is this meta? Fuck it. This is the mistake. Yeah. This is the mistake here. It's supposed to still be the same name in this side here. Yeah, it's supposed to still be this. It's supposed to still be this. I think that was the mistake. But I think this file might not still, yeah, this file might not still work still. Our deployments, let me come back here. I'll put this to Go Fiber, then also set this to Go Fiber actually. Let me see if this works. I don't know why that works, but it works. So yeah, the Go Fiber configuration has changed. Then I would apply the ingress again. Okay, then I'll try to describe the service again. Yeah, so the ingress application here is found, which is supposed to show something meaningful here actually. But let me get this fixed as well, the one of express and yeah. Okay, then let me name the container something else. Go Fiber app. The container should be something else. Then in this case also, scope is okay, FastAPI app. Then the service is just FastAPI. Service here should be Express.js. Then in here, okay, I think this, yeah, this should do. This should do. Okay, so we would try to apply the Express app, FastAPI, then Go Fiber app all over again. Then the last one we would need to apply, which we've applied before anyways, is the ingress. So now we can describe the ingress again, like just to check what is going on inside the ingress. K8 LT ingress. Okay, yeah, everything is pointing to where they're supposed to point except this man called Go Fiber. Okay, I think I need to check the ingress. Okay, I specified Go Fiber app here instead of Go Fiber, so I need to rerun the reapply the ingress again. So if I check the description again, so everything should have sense, like they should have sense. Okay, so our tunnel is still running, the Minikube tunnel. So if we access this is supposed to show us our Express application, which we have successfully deployed into our Kubernetes cluster. That feels so good to say, doesn't it? Yeah, so whoa, I just noticed this time is not correct, but don't mind me. This is showing 20 p.m. This is a 24-hour clock. It's not supposed to have p.m. by the way, but anyways, that's not the point. The point is our application works. So if I go to Go Fiber, I would have Go Fiber here. If I go to FastAPI, I would have FastAPI here, right? But do you notice what this just happened? Like what just happened now is if I press any part I put after FastAPI, it still redirects to this place. But to fix this, I believe what we are supposed to do is yes, I would copy the configuration. You actually got it. It's just a regex actually. It's just a simple regex, and also this annotation. So we just add $2. I will be honest with you, I don't exactly know what that means, but it fixes my problem. So we'll leave it at that. So I'll paste this here. Then I would paste this here as well. Then paste this here. Because typically in my FastAPI application, this should be returning a 404 error, right? But with what is going on, we can deduce that it's just saying anything that begins with FastAPI. Let me even try this. Yes, look at this. So anything that begins with FastAPI like this is going to term it as something that is valid, right? But that's not what we want. So we are attempting to fix that by this configuration. Hopefully when we apply the file, it's going to fix the issue. So we've applied it. Okay, if we refresh, yeah, we're having a standard 404. So if we check FastAPI again like this, it gives us what we want. If we add a trailing slash, we get what we want. But if we add a route that does not exist in our application, we get a standard 404 as well, which is lovely. So this is how FastAPI returns their 404 error, their default 404 error, by the way. So Go Fiber, let's try theirs. This is normal Go Fiber, like the route that is actually available. Then if you try a route that does not exist, we said cannot get this slash. Same thing with Express. So if we try this, it says okay, Express.js does not even exist, so that's one thing. So Express, yeah, I said cannot get SD blah blah. But if we do this, it gets our express. So yeah, that is actually very nice. I hope you guys were able to get something. It's quite a lot of back and forth actually, but I think we're able to deploy something. Yeah, we're able to deploy something. So we have all our applications, right, running on one endpoint. So typically, right, this is how you deploy your your microservices in production, right? Then you'll be able to access it from one endpoint. Like that's it's very, very nice. And in the case where you want to make updates, right? Okay, let's run a quick update. So let's remove this let's fix this PM thing, this PM problem in our JavaScript application, right? So let's fix it. So I would go inside my Express.js application. Then I would say let me see, where is the hours again? Man, I don't even know. Do I know how to convert this? Um, well, I'll tell you what. The simplest way to convert it is to remove the AM and the PM. So we just have a standard 20 hours. I know how to convert this, but it's kind of long. So I'll just remove the PM and make it a standard 24 hours clock. Yeah. So what I would want to do now, I want to build the Docker image and push it to Docker Hub. Okay. So let's open a new tab for that. Then we navigate inside our Express application. I'm going to copy the commands to actually build this. I don't want to do it all over again. Actually, this is even quite long. I'll use this make command. Typically, you guys can just go back to the, you guys by now, I believe you should know how to build Express Docker images yourself, right? So what I'm doing right now is I want to build it from the root directory here. So let me just actually show you. So I would say I'm not inside the Docker, I'm not inside the Express app right now. So I would say Docker build. Then the context in this place, where do I want to build the app from, is inside the Express.js app. So I would say Express.js app. Then I would say I will specify the tag, in this case structure slash express.js. Let me confirm the name on my Docker Hub actually. Let me just check here. Yeah, express.js underscore app, like this. Then I want to specify the file as well. So I would say express.js docker file. So this is building it already. So if I open hub, that's docker, it should show me. Okay, I'm still building the package actually. So by the time we push everything, right, we would want to restart our deployment inside the Kubernetes cluster, just to show that we have a new Docker image. Typically you would want to automate this process. Like, let me just show you what I'm saying exactly. So now let's say the deployment, the team handling the Express.js application in your company, they've made the fix they want to make and they want to push their image now. So what they will typically do is just push the image to Docker, to Docker Hub or any container registry you're using. So say structure slash express.js app, like this. Okay, so it should be pushing that. I think it should be done now. It's taking a while. Okay, it's done. So if we check our Docker Hub, we should see Express was last updated a few seconds ago. Okay, but now the changes, see it here now. Our app is still showing PM here, but our Docker image has been updated. So to reflect this change inside our Docker image, right, we need to redeploy our deployment. That's funny. So yeah, I have a command to do that here, which I'll just copy. Actually, don't let us copy it. It's not so much of a good way to learn. So let's get all our deployments and see the one we want to restart. So get deployments. Okay, so we want to reload our Express.js deployment. Once we reload it, right, we would see it should actually download the image from Docker Hub, and actually it should actually update the Docker image for us, right? Okay, so before we do that, there's something we need to update in our Docker deployment. So we need to update something called our image pool policy. Image pool policy. We set this to always. This image pool policy is like whenever the container is restarted, right? It should always pull the image. You should always try to get the latest image. That's what this means. So we'll add it to all our deployments, image pool policy in this side as well. So we always get the latest deployments. So yeah, that's our image pool policy. Okay, so first of all, right, I would let me this is tricky. Okay, I want to actually show that the let's apply all our deployments now. With what we have now, right? We would let's apply our deployment and see what happens. So kubectl apply f express. Nope. I want to apply k8 lt express, then k8lt, then I want to apply FastAPI, then I want to apply go fiber. Yeah, so it's all updated like that. So let me check the deployment pods again. Let me check if this is updated. Okay, this is not still updated, right? So the way we can the easiest way I know we can update this is using the rollout command, right? We have our image, we've pushed our image to Docker Hub, but we want to roll out our deployment like a new image of our Docker. So the simplest way we can do that is saying kubectl rollout restart, then say deployment slash express.js deployment, I believe. Okay, so it has restarted it like this. Okay, so if we refresh this at some point, it should, yes. So it was building the what is happening here? I wish I saw it on time. Let me show you what happened. I wish I got that actually on time. The thing is, yes, look at this. This is the old image, right? Before this is the old image. You see, it's trying to terminate it here, and this is the new image here. So why you notice as we was doing that, we were refreshing our app, but our app did not like time out or anything. That's the best part about Kubernetes again. You don't have any downtime. Let's try to, I don't know. Let me see if I can do an undo. Or let me see. Let me see something like this. Yes, I've undone the look at this now. It's terminating this one that starts with 7f is now putting the old one back. Let's say I deployed the new version and there's something wrong with it and I want to put it back to the old version. This is a very easy way to do it. Like I just basically do this command kubectl rollout undo, like it will undo the last thing I did. Then once I refresh, it's still, I think it's still undoing it. Let me see. Let me check actually. Okay, the app is running actually. Probably I'm not able to, but there are undo strategies, right? Maybe in another tutorial I will talk about that. But I think what happened previously, right? While it was trying to discard the old Docker image, it was trying to put up the new one, and in between it will not give you any kind of downtime. Like while updating the Docker image, you would always have one that is available to even respond to you. So that was what was happening before. I don't know if you guys noticed it. You can try rewinding the video to properly check where it was happening, you'll notice at some point it's showing a time without PM and another one with PM. So that was what happened. To cut the long story short, I think we are done with this. Yeah. So to actually feel a sense of contentment, you could just run this command kubectl get all, then you would see all of the resources you've created actually. And actually some of them are not things you need. So yeah, some of them are like useless to you at the end of the day. Like we created some resources, we didn't delete them. That is something to discuss another day. So yeah, that's that on this tutorial actually. So I hope you guys got something from this. This is actually exciting for me. It's been a while I did Kubernetes, and this is just fun. Honestly, this is fun. So if you guys want to check the code, obviously you can check it out on GitHub here. I think these descriptions are a bit detailed and all that shit. So yeah, and this make file is actually something very nice. It's actually very nice. Like a friend actually convinced me to start using make files, which I have actually liked. Typically I just stick with batch files. So let me show you this make file. You can check it out. It's quite easy to understand actually, sure. So yeah, it's quite easy to understand. That is all. So I would see you guys on the next tutorial. Hopefully it's soon. Probably I would record something more on Docker, something around Docker and Kubernetes actually, maybe. Yeah, so I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. Bye. Actually, don't forget to like and subscribe as well. That's very generic, but don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your DevOps friends. Yeah, share with anybody that is interested in learning Kubernetes. Anyways, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.